Yo, yo, yo. Amitai here. Today we are going to do some more package stores, and we're going to try going at a different pace than we went yesterday. Yesterday I explained a lot of things and then did some work. Today I'm going to just plunge ahead and do it more the way that I would normally do it. And if you've got questions, you can ask. Happy to hear. Let's do it that way. So today what I want to do, I want to create a package. This is going to be a session with package source. And um, the way I want to do that today is there's a piece of software that I discovered. This is typically how it happens with package source. You see a piece of software you want and you decide that you want to make a package. I heard about this one. I was listening to a podcast with the author of SQLite. That's apparently the way to say it. I would say SQLite, but he says SQLite. So I'll say that for today. Um, he also wrote uh, a markup language for rendering images from text. You know, programmers like to write text and get images. And I'm a programmer. I like that. I've been using GraphViz for some stuff, and I'm interested in this too. And also, you know, from my stream, in addition to package stores, which we've been doing a lot of lately, I also am a developer of IkiWiki, which is a static site generator, mostly static site generator. And it has integration with GraphViz, which is pretty cool. That's one of the reasons that I'm using that, is that I can write GraphViz in my source code of my website. And then when it's generated, GraphViz graphs come out in the page where I want them. I like that a lot. This markup language for pictures also looks like the sort of thing that would integrate really well into IkiWiki. In fact, it might integrate really well into IkiWiki because it doesn't have a lot of features that would make it dangerous to put on a website. And remember, IkiWiki is not only static. It is possible to let people edit this page in a browser, and it's very possible. It's a wiki software to have them do that in a totally unauthenticated way, and that's dangerous when you have, you know, arbitrary code that an arbitrary person on the internet can get your server to run. And so GraphViz is not super designed for that, but we run it in a controlled way. Pikchr looks like it might kind of be designed for that. Like it doesn't do anything interesting. Yeah, here you go. Safe for use in internet-facing applications. Hostile scripts cause no harm, apart from generating ugly diagrams, which is what I would do anyway. So I want this to be in package source because I suspect that I would like to try it in IkiWiki. And as I mentioned in previous streams, I only really like to try things if I have them in the package system first. It makes it easier to try, it makes it easier to delete. So I want to make a package of this, whatever it is. Picture. And so the first step in making a package is always um, where do I download it? And that's got a download link. And the second step is to look for some kind of a tarball or a zip file or otherwise compressed. We have that here. Let me pull out my super cool magic wand. This thing here can highlight. Now it is connecting to my computer. And now, hello. Is it going to work? Boo. It worked yesterday. I don't like this. This is not fun. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just use my mouse like a plebe. So the next thing in a packaging effort to do is to find where we can download the source code with some kind of an archive, a compressed archive or just an archive, uh, and also to have it be reproducible, like the same archive from now into the future. If anybody finds this URL and downloads it, will it have the same checksum? These links don't look like that. These links look like right now, if we download it, they are the latest commit, which if you're building from source by hand and you want to get what's new right now, that's handy. But for a package system, you want something that's going to be the same every time or not found, either of those, but not looks the same and turns out not to be the same. So this isn't quite it, but this is a good hint. It suggests what I might be able to do to download it. So I'm going to experiment here for a second. I'm going to take this link, and what it looks like to me, I happen to know this code is probably managed in Fossil. It says it's managed in Fossil. And I know Fossil and Git have a lot of design elements in common. Not all of them, but many of them. They're both distributed systems. And so what I'm looking for here is, we know this pattern from GitHub. Uh, this is probably a branch name. And then this is the file we want to get out of it. So I think what we could do here to get we want to identify what the latest commit is, if that's how we're packaging things. Um, Ideally, we wouldn't be having to figure this out. There would be released versions and we would pick one. I don't see that we have that. So what I would like to do is browse over to here, which is like the Fossil web browsing area, and go to trunk and browse it at the latest commit. It looks like this is the commit. Yep. And then take this commit and put it in here. I'm going to copy that on the off chance that it does something good. Yo, do you want to download? Yeah, I would, but not that way. Okay, so there's a chance that I have just constructed the URL to download specifically the version that is latest right now at the time of this recording that will stay that revision later. And now I can do the next step in packaging. So this is I guess it's graphics. Before we can do this, I happen to know that FreeBSD Ports has a package. So let's see where FreeBSD Ports put it, and maybe we can try to be like them, except where if it turns out we need to do something different, we can, but otherwise it's nice to do things the same as other packaging systems, especially closely related packaging systems. So what do we have for picture? Do I already have it open somewhere? I might. I did. There. So let me close that one. I'm not using that right now. Come back in. Okay, so this is how FreeBSD ports package this. Um, they put it in graphics, and they also decided it's also part of the text proc category, text processing. I could see that. So I'm going to not worry too much else about what they've written yet, but I'm going to say URL to package. Oh, nuts. I lost my magic URL. Okay, let's reconstruct it. This was the commit. We need to make a directory for picture. I have to remember I'm in Tmux and I shouldn't use the Mac terminal clearing keystroke like I often do. So here we are in picture, and what I'd like to do is say URL to package something with a tarball at the end. I don't have the whole something yet, but this is the commit ID. And then we're just going to redo it. I wanted to reconstruct like this, but just instead of trunk, that. Oops. And URL to package is a script that comes from package source. If you're a package source developer, you would get it. And it does some work for you. So the name of the thing is picture. We should say something about a version, but we don't have to do that yet. Graphics is fine. And I will say text proc while we're at it. I like the idea to factor out that check-in, but I don't have to do it yet. And for now, I will say, sure, I'll be the maintainer, and we'll fill in the rest of this later. Now, I save and quit this, and the script has not forgotten that it needs to go get a tarball. It's going to go do it. Okay, so we got a tarball, and what happened? Let's look. We have to define a license, and that's true. Looks like it's a BSD zero clause license according to FreeBSD. We'll see what the equivalent is in our system. It fetched the tarball, 239K, and then it says the checksums were okay, but that's because it generated them. This is a tarball that we just fetched for the first time as a developer, and so we're sort of defining that whatever we got is the right thing. And then it's looking for dependencies. We don't have any. And it's looking for tool and build time dependencies so we can start building stuff. And here we are. So what we have in our directory now is a description that probably needs to be filled in. Yeah, and it took this right out of the README to try to give us a head start. That's pretty handy. So I'm going to say picture is a pic-like markup language designed to be embedded in fenced code blocks of Markdown to provide a convenient means of showing diagrams. And that's enough. And I'll rewrap that to a more typical width. So that's a nice description. I consider that that's done. We talked about the checksums, the hashes. This is what was generated. Uh, I'm seeing something that I want to fix before we go any further, and that is, say, for example, oh yeah, and it also extracted the tarball into picture. So this is the source code right here. So before we go any further, what I would usually like to see when I'm working in a directory, let's take an example I often take. If I say make clean in this one, you're looking at a whole version number situation. That's the package name, that's the upstream version number, and this happens to have been updated in user visible ways in package source 15 times without the upstream changing. So that's what that NB15 is about. When we do a make clean here, it's just the name of the package. So that's one thing. Another thing that I'm concerned about before we go further is let's look for the tarballs here. DJDNS tar.gz. That has a version number in it. And over here with picture, so far we don't. It's just picture. So this is going to be annoying because again, like this tarball is going to get mirrored around. When I finish this package and commit to package source, it's going to get mirrored around and it's going to be this particular version that's supposed to match this particular checksum. But the next time I do an update, some people are going to have picture.tar.gz, the old one, with the old checksums. So we want this to be versioned too, especially if we could know what the version will be. So, and we want to use that version number in a few places. So let's see if we can find any kind of a version from the software itself. Mm. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I see something called package version. Let's look at that again. That's a tickle package version. That is picture.y, a yak or bison file. And it's saying we would call that one. I don't know what that signifies. Let's just look at one. Okay. No, this looks like what I would want it to signify. Package name means picture, and package version means 1.0. I'm interested to know how that has changed over time to see if I need to do something more in package source about the version number or if I'll rely on the software to update its own version. So here's how I'm going to do that. Do I have Fossil installed? No. So I'm going to get Fossil installed. I'm going to go to pkgsrc current. It's going to be somewhere, and it's going to be fossil, and I should be able to say make install clean. And in a moment, I'll have fossil, and I can use that to check out the source tree for picture, and then I can use it to look over time at what has happened, if anything, to package version. So I'm going to do that. And while we're waiting for fossil to build, let's go see where I should clone it from. I would do it like this once I have it. Let's see how well my computer can do. I'm going to do a Control Z on this other build I've got going in the background. Let this one go faster. This is building fossil. This is like a side benefit of package source is that if you discover in the course of working on something that you need a tool to do what you're doing, it's probably really easy to get. So I don't actually care a lot about fossil right now, but I need it as an instrument to carry out as a means to the end that I'm interested in. So now I have it. That was that. So I'm going to go up to where I check out source trees, and I'm going to paste in the command, which was to clone that particular fossil from there. And that's done. And then I'm going to, the other thing that it said to do was to fossil open, the thing that we now have. So I'm going to do it. Or what? Do I need to CD into picture? No. Okay. So there's something about fossil that I hadn't understood. I'm gonna, do I have a temp already? Let's make a temp and let's move picture up. Fossil into temp, and let's go into temp, and now I could probably do it. So it's gonna, I guess this is how it's gonna do some kind of a checkout. So it needs to know that it's not dancing on other stuff. Okay, now we're able to do that. So I don't know fossil well at all. I used it once about 10, 12 years ago. I'm guessing I could say something like fossil log. No, let's just say fossil. Fossil help. Fossil help. Uh, yeah. So I'm kind of interested in looking. Here's my intention right now. My intention right now is I want to look over the history of picture.c and in particular the history of how package version has been defined in picture.c. And so what I'd like to do is get, if this was Git, I would say Git log and then limit the log to the path of picture.c and then try to see which of those ever changed the version, something like that. Um, so I'm looking for an equivalent here. So we got it. Annotate, that's kind of interesting, like who committed that line, but not exactly. Changes, could be like a log. That seems possible. Um, when I have a change, diff might be the thing. This is fairly similar, but just not quite the same. I'm going to try changes. Fossil changes. No. Maybe I need to go find a little tutorial. Fossil documentation. And yeah. History? Not the history of fossil. Changes? Quick start guide. Starting a new project. Cloning existing repository. Checking out a local tree. Got it. Making committing changes. Changes shows what I have changed so far. Fossil diff will show the details. Making changes, sharing changes, branching and merging, update, merge, commit, undo, tips and usage hints. How do I see my history, you weirdos? Git log in fossil. Get to fossil translation guide. All right, all right. This is for me. Thank you, friends. Update versus pull, naming repositories, cloning and checkout work trees. In place, fossils timeline is the log, and that's the timeline. CLI. Okay. And if you truly need a backwards in time only view, this is as close as you can come. Okay. Well, let's just try fossil timeline. You know what might be easier? This is pretty tedious and I'm not trying to learn fossil right now. If I just go here, or no, if I go to timeline right here, as we were looking at before, can I somehow advanced? And no, I didn't search for what yet. Advanced, and I want to look in particular file. Does he ever say anything about a version? Wow, okay, so in June of this year, it provided default values for package name and package version macros. Let's look at that. Package name, package version. And then I guess that's what I want to search for is uh, check-ins. I want to look for like a string, if I could. Wow, okay, so package version just just arrived. Okay, but this answers my question. My question was, is this version getting updated regularly? There's no evidence of that yet. It's just been added half a year ago, and we haven't seen it be updated since then. So for package sources purposes, I think what I want to do is take this version and append a date to it, the date being of the most recent commit that we got, which is November 4th. So I think that's what I want to call the version of this software. And now that I've done this, I don't need temp, and I don't even really need fossil anymore. Fine. Okay, so let's get back to what we were doing. It's always the yak shave. I want to encode the version of this as 1.0 because that's what it says in its own package version. But it's not changing that often enough for my taste. So I also want to say the date of that last commit, which was this, minus a couple dashes, like so. And that way, if the upstream version never changes, we can always just bump this last part by date. And that way, at least it will be monotonically increasing. And if they do bump the version number, then that wins. And that's great. So we'll call it that. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure that's the right place to put the version, but that's the version that I want us to be using. The next thing to do is, um, yeah, let's do it like that. And we'll say package version is this. And that is sufficiently not too magic, but it didn't quite work. And then I need to say, was that not it? I just did something like this yesterday. What was it? I was in netfd proxy. Okay, we just had package name equals something dash package version. Okay, so I'm going to say package name equals this name package version. And now when we do a make clean, that looks like a versioned thing. And that's the version that we would wind up installing when this is packaged, which we have not yet really begun to do. We're just trying to figure some basic stuff out. The next thing I'd like to do before we go too far is honor this commit tag. We don't have any kind of fossil stuff in here, but we can just say package version fossil tag, and that's vaguely equivalent to the GitHub tag. We don't have any infrastructure for it, but there it is. And then I can at least say fossil tag. I don't want to say it for homepage. Homepage is not that. Homepage is picture.org, and it can follow its own redirects. How's that look? I really want to have the tarball be versioned in some way. So what I would like to do, maybe I need, yeah, you know what I need? This calls for dist subdir. Let's see if we can get some help about that. Make help topic equals dist subdir. Lovely. Okay. We use this when the dist file itself, the tarball that we're trying to get, uh, basically in this situation, or a situation a little bit less intentional than this, but either way, if a tarball at a certain path is expected to change its checksum over time, but we have, then we want to put it in a subdirectory. In the subdirectory, we can at least control the version. And that's how we can know that something happened. So I think that's what I want to say here. I want to say dist subdir. And I guess for that, I would put it in, I'm thinking between package version and fossil tag. And I guess that's the way to go about it. So I'll put it in package base is the name there. And fossil tag can be where it gets put. So now that I've done this, let's see if we can still fetch the thing. Yeah. And then let's update our checksums. And now, yes. Okay, so now you can see differently. Um, we now have a subdirectory into which this never uniquely named tarball is going to go. And it's keyed on the tag. So if we do an update, it's going to have a different fossil commit ID, and then it's going to be in a different subdirectory, and then we can set a different checksum, and this won't collide. So this is good. This is good. And we want to make extract and see where it went to and make sure the package source has the right idea. Okay, that's still totally unversioned. So what I need to say here is that work source is really just workdir. Usually it would be versioned in some way, but here it is not. Okay, so now I should be able to say make patch, even though I don't have any patches, and it at least knows where to have tried doing that. Now we are ready to try to see how to build this thing, which I think there were some instructions here. If you just want to build a command line tool or use it in another application, You just call GCC yourself? No, let's look at how to compile picture. Source code is in picture.y. You're supposed to run that through lemon. What? Okay. Do we have lemon in package source? Maybe. We do. So we might be able to do this as intended. It generates the C code. Maybe we can skip the lemon part because I think the C code is in our tarball, but let's look. Picture.c. Yeah, so let's say that we don't do that. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, so it can compile by itself by passing this option to generate a standalone program, and it can be integrated into a larger application. So I think that's the easiest place to start. Yes, as a convenience to integrators, the preprocessed C file is normally checked in. So just build it. Okay. So for now, I think the easiest thing, like we have the option to ship a library. I don't want to do that yet. I just want to package this in some way, and I think a standalone executable is the easiest. And we don't have to worry about lemon or the .y file. We just need to build the .c, like it said, like this. Is there really no makefile? There is, and it's there. So why are we futzing around with manual compile instructions? Don't know. Okay, so I think this is actually going to be pretty trivial, modulo a little patching. I think I can just say make, but I couldn't find the make file. Ah, yes, I defined work source incorrectly. It is simply workdir this name. Now it can find the make file. Yeah, and now we have a program called picture. So you can see we still need to define the license. Let's catch up with that. Is it in here? Doc. Is it described on the web page? Zero clause BSD. Zero clause BSD. That's what FreeBSD said. Do we have that license in package source? That would be ideal. We do. Okay, so I'll just call it that. License is this. We need a short description of the package, a one-liner. Maybe we'll wind up with the same as FreeBSD's. I'm gonna say take that and put it in our comment. Is that what they had to? Yeah, I'll keep it like this. Okay. Let's see what package lint says so far. So far, no complaints, but we haven't actually installed this package yet. So let's do a make stage install. And this is going to go from scratch. So it's going to fetch it, but we already fetched it. It's going to do the checksums, make sure they match. Of course they do. Apply any patches. We don't have any yet. Build, which we just saw. And then try to put the files into a destdir if there's some way, if there's some kind of install target, it'll call that. There might not be one. Don't know how to make install. Let's look at that make file again. So there's a build target to make picture. There may not be any sort of install target. That is fine. We had this yesterday too. And you can see the FreeBSD port also encountered this. So we will simply, we have the same thing. It's relatively similar in this case. So we've built the thing. We're going to install, I'm going to say work source package base. in this case, and I think that's actually a better name here. That means more to me. I always have to remember what this name means, but I don't have to remember what package base means. And then this goes into dester, staging area, prefix, and bin, just like they did. And I also want to say installation ders bin, so that that directory exists by the time I install it. And since I indented that, let's indent the rest. And now, if we go for make stage install, get a different error. That's always good. So the following files are in dester, but not in the packing list, the files that are expected to be in the package. Look at that, there's op package bin picture, but we don't know about it. So I could manually edit plist, which looks like this, or I could do what it says, which is make print plist and replace plist with that. And now it's got a comment and it's got a bin picture. So if I say make repackage, there's a package. If I say make install, it's on my system. If I run pikchr, it's there. So I'm going to assume that that works because it runs. That's pretty good. Make clean, package lint, looks fine. So we are hot on the trail of shipping this package. Let's take another look at what we have. Description, make file plist dist info. Is there anything else we might want to include? Let's look again at what it did when we built. Yeah, so we had this in a previous Twitch session as well with a different package. This make file hard codes the build time flags, and we want it not to. And I don't really want it to do this lemon stuff if it doesn't have to. If it says that it includes picture.c, let's just go straight for this. So I want to change the build to skip building lemon, to skip generating picture.c, and to just build picture. And I want it to use the build flags provided by package source and maybe configured by the user. So I'm going to do that. We'll do a make clean, we'll do a make patch, and now I'm going to do some patching. We're going to do package vi on this make file. So all should build picture, which depends on picture.c. Yeah, you know what? No skin off my nose. I'm going to let it do that. What I'm more concerned with are the C flags. And this is actually relatively easy. We can just say if they're not already set, you could set them to that. And I'm not sure about this math library thing. It seems like a very platform specific idea. And I'm also concerned about, oh, pick tickle. Yeah, we're not building that. I was going to say there's a lot of really platformy stuff in here, like this Linux path. Don't like that. Maybe in a future iteration of this package, we would try to do the tickle integration more portably. For now, I just really want to have this program. So I'm going to, that's probably it. I'm gonna, oh, and we have tests? Okay, then we got to hook up the test. Test target is test. Let's do that. Test target equals, and that way we can run make test. Whenever there are good automated tests, it's good to have them. I made a patch, so I want to keep it. It also made a .orig patch because I didn't have one before. Here's the patch. Uh, honor package source provided C flags, and we should see that look different. I'm going to make the checksums for that patch. And now if I do a make patch, it's actually going to do something because I have a patch. And now when I look into that packages make file, it did what I wanted it to do. And so now when I do a build, it doesn't use all those crazy C flags. It uses whatever package source provides, which might be, you know, like package source hardening options, features that make it harder to take advantage of bugs as exploits. Um, or just if the user specifies a particular CPU or an optimization level, they should be honored, and it looks like they will be. So, was that all? Is there any documentation in here that we should install? Let's look at the README. No, it's pretty much the same as the description, nothing extra. How about doc? Wow, okay. Um, maybe, maybe in a future version. How about examples? Yeah, so these are things that could get installed. And if I really wanted to be, if I was really motivated, I could. But this is also something that we can improve incrementally over the life of a package as those things become valuable or necessary. So I think it is very reasonable now to run make test. Whoa! I did not want that to happen. This is not an automated test. This is a you look at it and see if it looks okay to you test. So forget that. No, thank you. I'm not going to do that. And I don't think I really need to look at the FreeBSD package anymore. I got the idea. So what we do need to do now is commit this. This is ready to go. Package lint says it's good. I agree that it's good. And now I'm going to do the thing where I read through the instructions. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place. I want this one. And I'm going to add a package like this in CVS. So up a directory, CVS add picture. Thank goodness for tab. Back in there, CVS add stuff. Description, makefile, plist, disinfo. Patches. We have to do this in a couple steps. With something like Git, or I presume Fossil, you can add recursively. But in CVS, when a directory is new, directories are special. And then we can go and add. Now that the directory is tracked, we can add the patch. Good. And now it's time to commit. And for an initial commit message, I would say something like add picture. And now I want to take the comment from the makefile, and then I will take the whole description. Whoops. I just noticed these leftover square brackets. In CVS, it's not too late to fix that. For diagram. Yep. And commit. Okay. So that is in package source. We're not quite done. There's a little more administrative stuff to do. Go back up to the category and edit the makefile. I seem to be having trouble typing this, so I'm going to copy the name. And I'm looking for right about here. Looks good. That's the alphabetical order. Let's make sure that's my only change to the makefile. Go back in there and make C type equals added. This adds something to the package source change log so that the changes can be tracked, not just in Git or CVS, but with tools that can parse a change log, which is easier. So let's say that I did that. Picture has been added. It checks to see if it was in the to-do. Sometimes people make package requests in there. And now it's added. So now, just like people could do with FreeBSD ports, if they're running FreeBSD, people on package source on any platform, NetBSD, macOS, FreeBSD, Linux, Solaris, Illumos, whatever, can get picture this way. Uh, Now, I only tested it on macOS, so I actually don't know for sure that it works on other platforms. And that's going to be what we do to finish the stream, is to check it on other platforms. But first, let me do what I like to do in any new repo, which is to also put it in Git. And that it makes it a little easier to work with. Even when I am online, it's easier to do Git stuff than it is to do CVS stuff, as you might know. And then I also want to create a repo on GitHub and push it up there. So I'll do it the way I usually do, which is package source picture, and then I'll take the comment from the file again and just represent it here, make a repo, and then I'm ready to do this part. Now I have a repo, and I like to edit this to point to a resource that will exist soon. We called it graphics picture, right? And these are not relevant because I'm not doing builds at GitHub. So this doesn't exist yet, but it will be a nice resource when it does in a few minutes for people to browse about this package. And one other thing I like to do is add my GitHub sponsors information here. So I'm just going to copy, yesterday I did FD proxy. I'll copy the funding from there into here. And this is not, you'd say, like, am I messing up my CVS checkout with the repository of record? No, because my CVS ignores .git and .github. So it's quite all right. So let's say add GitHub sponsors metadata. Push that up. So that will not affect the main repo for package source. It's just for people who want to support my open source work. They can do it in various different ways. GitHub sponsors, Ko-fi, LiberaPay, Patreon, PayPal, Ladder. Those are all ways to do it. So I consider that picture is packaged. We just have to do a little more due diligence here in case. And to do that, I'm going to come out of my local machine and SSH to my build farm. Build farm. So this is a Mac Mini that is not where I am, but it is well connected. And I'm going to just update CVS here. I could probably do a better idea, which is to go right into graphics and ask specifically for a picture and save us all some time. If it had dependencies, we would want to do something more involved. So I can say I expect this to build because the only difference, it's the same Mac OS version even, it's just a different architecture. I assume this will build fine. And it does. So that's not terribly interesting. And now I'll uninstall it. Very good. The next thing that might be interesting is to try it on a variety of different platforms. So let's do a little bit of that. Let's get there on a, a Raspberry Pi. Where this tree is NFS mounted or SSHFS mounted for this one. And go to graphics, picture, and build. And let's go to a Triblix and build. And let's do a NetBSD. And let's do a CentOS 7. How about that? Whoop. Why not? Hmm. I thought we had the dist file in the same place that it would use it. CentOS is still booting. Okay, so far, no problem building on Driblix. Not gonna worry about that. Hmm, some other choices we could do. Uh, yeah, dev1 is a weird one. Let's try dev1. I'll come back to figuring out what's going on with NetBSD. Yeah, also fine. So where is dev1 putting its dist files? It's putting them there. And where are we putting them here? Package source get dist files. Why? I must be saying that someplace. Yes, I am. And did I say it's someplace here? Dist. Huh. Okay. Well, for the moment, let's comment that out. And now I think this can work better. Still no problem. Okay. So it's not exhaustive, and I'm still waiting for CentOS 7. What was CentOS 8? It's frozen or something. Yeah, so I got a lot more VMs I could try this on, and in the course of time, I certainly will. But for now, yeah, okay, let's do a CentOS 8 real quick. I don't expect any trouble, but we can find out. Yeah, so this is also something I can do before I commit, and sometimes I do, but it's also easy enough to fix things up after the fact if we notice any portability issues, and so far I don't. And you'll notice that one of the platforms I have a virtual machine for is FreeBSD, just for good measure. Let's finish up with that, because we can. If I can get that window to close. What is going on here? Let's go to our FreeBSD system, where FreeBSD ports has this, but so does package source. So let's go into trees, package source CVS, graphics, picture, make, install, clean. And there it is. So nothing against FreeBSD ports, but package source works on a lot of platforms, and that is valuable to me. So I'm happy that FreeBSD ports exists. I'm sure they package things especially well for FreeBSD. For a program like this, I can't see a difference. I really appreciate that I can borrow patches from them for FreeBSD when package source is a little behind. Likewise with OpenBSD ports. Likewise with Homebrew or Mac ports for the Mac. I'm always looking for, if somebody has solved this problem on this platform already, I'm happy to take their work and use it in package source. But that's because package source has this cross-platform payoff where whatever system you got, you can do the same thing and get the same software, same version. And so that's why I'm happy that I develop in package source. So works on FreeBSD too. Now we have picture, and now to wrap it up. Remember, I was motivated to do this. I heard about this on a podcast with the author of SQLite, SQLite, and it sounded like a handy source code kind of a language for generating diagrams that I might want to play with in IkiWiki, which is a mostly static site generator. And it sounded like it's especially well suited to when you use IkiWiki as a dynamic site generator and let people edit on the web. So I may try that in an upcoming stream to take advantage of this and see how well it can integrate into IkiWiki. And with that, that's our stream for today. Thanks for watching.